Here's a little interpretive tip for reading the Bible. When something is likened to Sodom, it's not a good thing. Egypt is a little better, but it is still infamous for being the nation that God sent not one, not two, but 10 plagues to get their attention. And their leader still ended up at the bottom of the Red Sea. I mention as much because in Revelation chapter 11, verse 8, where we pick up today, John states of the 2 witnesses murdered by the beast, their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. One commentator points to the specific nature of these references, stating Sodom as a place of moral degradation, one so filled with vice that normal standards of hospitality and decency are turned upside down, as the refusal of the burial for these 2 witnesses indicates. It is also called Egypt in that it too is a place of tyranny associated with slavery and oppression, as the making of war by the beast upon the 2 witnesses indicates. One might be prone to assume, based on the final piece of the verse, where also their Lord was crucified, that John is now talking about Jerusalem. Now, if you're taking a literal reading of the text, that does introduce a problem. How so, you ask? Well, John was given the reed at the beginning of chapter 11 and told to measure. He was told, exclude the outer court, do not measure it because it has been given to the Gentiles. They will trample the holy city for 42 months. That means in the span of 7 verses, the city that was called holy is now likened to Sodom or Egypt. Clearly, there must be something else going on here. Now, some suggest that the reference to the city where the Lord was crucified is itself not to be interpreted literally. Initially, I thought, come on, that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Sure, it could be along the lines of Jesus' question in Acts 9, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Remember that Jesus had ascended to the Father, so at the time Paul was not persecuting Jesus. But in his actions against the church, Jesus said this was done to him. Maybe in the same way, the deaths of the servants are connected to the death of our Lord in that way. Still, that seems like a bit of a stretch, because while the witnesses did in fact die as our Lord, they certainly didn't die in the manner of our Lord. Verse 8 does state, after all, specifically where their Lord was crucified. We're not out of the woods yet. John tells us that their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, which we're assuming is Jerusalem. Yet in Revelation 18, Babylon is called the great city. Sure, there might be more than one great city in Revelation. That's plausible. But the great city Babylon is described stating, in her was found the blood of the prophets and of God's holy people, of all who have been slaughtered on the earth. And Babylon wasn't where the prophets were murdered. In fact, in Matthew 23, doesn't Jesus lament, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those who sent you? So what are we to make of the great city? Is it Sodom, Egypt, Jerusalem? What about Babylon, which is a stand-in for Rome? Maybe this city isn't necessarily any of these places. Maybe the city is just representative of the world and all of its arrogant opposition and defiance of God. The text would be a reminder that this place is not our home, and that the active resistance to God's kingdom, wherever it be manifest, should not surprise us, nor should it dissuade us from our witnessing task, no matter what they may try. Pick up there next week.